get into it. Now we're going to get into all these articulations and this system that you should follow. If you're wanting to swing better, or if you've got a band and you want your band to swing, use this system. It's super simple to implement to younger kids or yourself. It may take a little bit of time to master it, but you'll see immediate results. I've been working with bands for the last 15 years, going around and doing workshops and clinics and adjudicating jazz festivals. And over the years, this is what I kind of came up with. It's probably nothing new, but putting it all together in a system, in a visual way for you to see, could probably help. So I've used this with middle school bands and high school bands and college bands and graduate students. I got my DMA in classical trombone, but play a lot of jazz in Kansas City. And when I was at the conservatory, there's any more like service band auditions. If you're a trombonist, you got to play the first movement of the David, and then you got to, improvise over a blues. Service bands are wanting you to be able to be more versatile. And so being able to switch between two different types of articulations, or, sort of dialects, that's very important in these days because it's tough to make a living. So be versatile. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is just the note itself, or the syllable. And every note has a front side and a back side. The front side is the attack, and that's going to have a consonant sound. In classical music, it's typically like a T, or ta ta ta, or taka taka taka, or sometimes you do use a D syllable and you get daga 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 daga, D's and G's. In jazz and swing particularly, we want to focus on that D syllable. Now you may have noticed in the guide that the D is lowercase, and that's for a specific reason. It's not a typo. I want you to focus on getting to the vowel. One of my teachers always said, get to the ah of ta, because the vowels it's where the tone of the note is, okay? So the articulation is lowercase, the front side, and then we get to the back side, which is the vowel, and that's going to be uppercase. We want to make sure we have good quality of air. You don't necessarily need more air, but we need really nice quality air there. So that's the back side of the note. So now we can get into this first one, which is do. Okay, do is any chord. You're going to say do if the note has a tenuto marking. If it's on beats 1 and 3, and it's unmarked quarter note, beats 1 and 3, think do. Any eighth note, if it's an eighth note and it occurs on the beat, doesn't matter if it's beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whichever. If it's on the downbeat and it's an eighth note, we're going to think do. And then we're going to use do a lot on beats 1 and 3 if it's longer than a quarter note as well. So dotted quarter notes, half notes, whole notes. All right, the next one is da, and da is the accent. That's going to be the accent marking, okay? So any quarter note that has an accent, we're going to think da, and then it's the opposite. If it's unmarked and it's on beats 2 and 4, we're going to think da. And maybe you can see where this is kind of going, especially if you watch the previous video with me articulating this. Here's an important one. Da is going to be a longer note, like a dotted quarter note that it happens on the end of 1 or the end of 3. You'll see a lot of emphasis on the end of 3. Think da there. And then da would be the eighth notes that are occurring on the offbeats, the and of 1, the and of 2, and so on. All right, so if you combine those, now the difference between oo and ah means you don't have to overemphasize that accent. I hear lots of young people over accent, and when you get that big discrepancy between an unaccented note and an accented note, it takes away from the fluidity of the style and the language of the style. So just sing do da do da do da, and all I'm doing is I'm putting a slight emphasis on da, but the difference that the shape of your oral cavity makes from oo to ah is enough. Okay, so you don't have to overemphasize now. Okay, so I would get a metronome, metronome, or on your phone. Sorry, upside down. There we go. get a metronome, have your kids or yourself, of course, work on this and just do da do da do da do da. And just make sure that it's fluid, okay? You want those notes to connect. We don't want it to be rigid and separated, okay? Next thing that I did on the guide is I put a bebop, one of the bebop scales up there just to give you something else to do instead of playing static notes, okay? And so you're not playing the blues scale. You can play something a little bit hipper, okay? Next, we get dot. And dot is the housetop accent, okay? So any note with a housetop accent, we're going to say dot. And dot, it's not actually a hard T at the end. It's just dot, okay? So not dot. We don't want that. We don't want that at the end. We want a lowercase t. So when you do that, the tip of your tongue is going to hit the roof of your mouth, and that's going to cut off the air. And that's super important on releases. So if you notice, we only say dot on housetops, or I like to put dot at the end of a phrase. If there's a note with a rest after it, that note's going to get dot. Some people like dit right there, and I'll show you why I don't necessarily like dit there. There are specific times, of course, when you'll want dit there, but for now, just think dot. Now we can combine all those. So now we're going do da 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 do. Just those normal swing eighth notes again, like I put in the first video. But now we can play a group of 4 eighth notes, and on that fourth one we're going to say dot. So we get do da do dot, do da do dot, do da do dot, do da do dot. You hear that soft T at the end. That's cutting off the air. If everybody in the ensemble, whether it's just like a trombone, tenor, trumpet, or if it's a big band, if everyone's doing that and cutting off at the same time, they're going to get tighter so much quicker. You got to get them to listen to each other too. All right. So there's a few different examples of how you can do that. There's also a time and place where that third syllable in there is not a do, it's an oo. And a lot of times that's if that third note is lower in pitch than the second note. It's just shaping the phrase, okay? And after doing this a while, do da do dot, do da do dot, you're not really thinking about 4 syllables right there. You're thinking of phrase. It's almost like do da do dot is its own word, and it just becomes a phrase. And if you can get yourself or your students to understand that, so they see 4 eighth notes and they just associate with the phrase do da do dot. Like I even kind of swung it right there, just saying it. It'll help so much, okay? Then finally we get the staccato marking, and I like to say dit right there, okay? And it could be D capital I T or D capital I H T. And staccato, is if you look at the definition in like a folder or something, it's going to say short and separated, okay? I tend to focus on the separate part from that, okay? So we want there to be separation between that note and the next note that follows, okay? And the I syllable or the I vowel is a little bit shorter to say than ah. So dot, dit, dot, dit. Even if I try and elongate it, it's still a little bit shorter than ah. So I like to think dit with those staccatos. So dit, dit da do da. Okay, so there you go. That's a basic thing, a basic outline of all these articulations. Of course, there's more, and a lot of it depends on where those mark, the contour of a line, things like that. So if you have any other questions, always feel free to ask me. I'm always available, or I try to be available to you guys. So I hope you got something out of that. Enjoy your day, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much.